We begin week 6 of the all-time rosters franchise in Atlanta, where the Falcons would take on the Panthers out of the NFC South. Plenty of field goals in this one, 2 from Atlanta's Younghoe Koo to force overtime, tied at 6. The Falcons would win the coin toss and begin receiving with one of the most electrifying return men of his day, that is Deion Sanders, but he would get decleated on this play from John Beeson, and Anderson recovers the fumble. A huge hit from John Beeson. I mean, this is some play from the linebacker setting up the chip shot field goal, and the Panthers' Graham Gano would win the game right here. The Panthers go into Atlanta and defeat the Falcons in overtime 9-6. No overtime needed from overcast Washington, D.C. as the 3-2 all-time Eagles battle the division-leading Washington Redskins Commanders. A diving mini Maverick against Sean Taylor with the catch, and it is Tommy McDonald who would end the opening drive with a touchdown himself. Philadelphia with plenty of offense in this one, 389 yards in fact, and an Eagles drubbing on the road. The final score from the nation's capital, the Eagles 27, the Redskins Commanders 3. The all-time Giants went into the year with Eli Manning, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, as their starting quarterback, but he may not finish the season if he keeps playing like this. 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions to begin the year for New York. But Eli did come out on fire in this one. Mark Bavaro with a diving touchdown catch for the Giants, and then Manning would throw 2 more in the first half. Odell Beckham, who went over 100 yards, and Jeremy Shockey. 3 touchdowns in the first half for Eli, and then something happened at halftime where he didn't look like himself in the third quarter. Picked off here from Nate Odoms, and then Eric Moulds gets by the defense, his 3rd touchdown of the year, and then Nate Odoms intercepts Eli Manning again, setting up Buffalo down 21-10, but Jim Kelly and the Bills would be denied on 4th and 6. The Giants are the number 7 total defense in the league and preserve the lead, winning the game 24-10. With 33 All-Pros and 12 members of the Hall of Fame, the all-time Colts have got to be the best 2-3 team in the league, and they proved it in Cincinnati. 80 of the 118 yards on the day from Lenny Moore there, and then Manning throws a couple second-quarter touchdown passes. Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. The 3-3 Colts dismantled the Bengals by 21. One of the greatest franchises of all time, the all-time Pittsburgh Steelers. Jacksonville provide very little resistance in Heinz Field. The Steelers are the number 4 defense in the league and the number 3 offense in the league, led by Big Ben, who has the highest passer rating in football, and the Steelers are 6-0. The all-time Lions stayed alive in the playoff race with a shocking upset of Chicago at home last week, and they battle another blue blood of the NFC today, the all-time 49ers. Lane to Moore got the scoring started in Detroit. It was 7-3 at halftime. Barry Sanders had his best rushing performance of the year, carving up the Niner defense and giving the Lions a 2-score lead in the second half. Montana, the Niners, down 17-3 with 3.5 minutes to go. A good idea to try Rice on the deep ball, and then 2 plays later, T.O. to stay in the game. The Niner defense, led by Navarro Bowman, forces a 3rd down stop, but the Niners would be stopped on 4th down, and San Francisco is stunned on the road. 165 yards today for Barry Sanders, the best rushing performance of Week 6. Smooth sailing this year for Aaron Rodgers and the all-time Packers. Green Bay at 5-0 battles the all-time St. Louis LA Rams. Must win for them, and they get on the board here with Torrey Holt for the 45-yard touchdown. And then Rodgers gives them a huge break right into the hands of Jerry Gray's pass return for touchdown. That was one of 3 interceptions on the day. 4th down with the Packers down 13, a clutch throw to tight end Paul Kaufman. But then Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, taken down by Robustelli, would tear his pectoral and is out for the season. The Packers are going to have to do without one of the greatest passers in the history of the game. Bart Starr would close out this one and does throw a touchdown on his first pass, a 24-yarder to Don Hudson, and then the defense delivers on the following drive as St. Louis LA would suffer a 3-and-out. Johnny Hecker, the punt for the Rams, and Willie Wood would bring it back. The Packers would all but win the game with a touchdown, but instead Wood loses the ball on a Leroy Irvin forced fumble that Jack Youngblood brings back. He looked very close to being down by contact, but there was no challenge on this play, and the Rams, on the next play, would punch it in as Eric Dickerson scores his 4th touchdown of the season. The Rams go into Lambeau and hand Green Bay their first defeat of the season, 28-14. And now the Rams are just a half game back of San Francisco in the airtight NFC West. No division lead on the line in Baltimore as the winless all-time Houston Texans battle the 1-3 all-time Ravens. Baltimore ends their opening drive with the 27-yarder from Ray Rice, number 27, with his first touchdown of the season. Houston down by 3 in the third. Andre Johnson. He has just been unreal this season and goes over 100 yards again. Arian Foster caps off this drive with his second touchdown, and the Texans lead 21-10. A clutch fourth quarter drive for Lamar Jackson, who goes over 200 yards on the day. But his offense stalls in the red zone. Smith dropped it, and they'd settle for a field goal. The defense needs a big play, and they have really struggled this season as Baltimore, but they do get a break. Rod Woodson the forced fumble, and Ray Lewis the recovery. Then just 2 plays later, Jackson is back in the end zone to Kadri Ismail. 21-19 off the missed 2-pointer, and then Houston's struggling fourth quarter offense goes 3 and out again, and then Jackson, who had been much maligned in the clutch in so many games throughout his career. He was big time on this drive and has 46 big ones for the touchdown to Torrey Smith. Second touchdown of the day and the 5th of the season for Lamar. The Ravens lead it late in the game by 6. Deshaun Watson with a prayer on 3rd down, and he'd find his tight end to set up the winning passes. And on 4th down, this for the victory, barring a penalty. It is caught by Andre Johnson. The officials would discuss and say no, he was out. The Ravens that close to blowing the lead. Baltimore 27, Houston 21. Andre Johnson 3rd in the league in receiving this season. So many great games for week 6 of the all-time roster franchise. This one the best of them all. From Oakland, the 3-1 Browns against the 3-2 Raiders. We begin the action of the opening kickoff as Leroy Kelly, hit from Powell, loses a fumble, which Christensen sets up near the red zone. And on the first snap of the day, Ken Stabler finds the ghost in the post, Dave Casper for the touchdown. Stabler went 19 of 31 for 267 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Second to Tim Brown here, and the Raiders were back in front, but not for long, as Paul Warfield, who had 115 and a touchdown on this day, gives the Browns the lead into the 4th quarter. Cleveland up 23-17. I had mentioned 3 Stabler touchdowns because he was absolutely money on this drive for the Raiders. A 4th down conversion from Cliff Branch to set him up near the red zone, and then Stabler, with the Raiders using no timeouts, march all the way to the goal line. And after the no huddle, the Raiders would punch it in with just 20 seconds to go. Oakland, Las Vegas goes the distance and has the lead by 1 with just a few seconds remaining. Cleveland would need a bit of a miracle, and their quarterback was pretty good on this day. Otto Graham, over 200 yards passing, and he also had 55 yards rushing, and he outruns Townsend all the way into field goal range, sending up Cleveland's Lou Groza from 55, and the kick is good. Lou Groza has been money all season. The all-time Raiders have been heartbroken in so many games this season at home, and lose this one 26-24. Over 100 yards from Brown and Warfield. The AFC North, the Steelers are first, but the Browns are right behind them. Hall of Fame showdown between Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Winner takes first in the NFC South. These are 2 of the top 10 passes in the league this season, and they acted like it in this one in Tampa Bay. Brees to Colston to give the Saints the lead. Then late in the first half, Brady is back on the board off a Barber interception with a touchdown to Vincent Jackson. The former undrafted free agent Marcus Colston had a breakout day for the Saints, catching 6 passes for 131 yards and 2 New Orleans touchdowns. Brady in the clutch, finding Chris Godwin, who were favorite targets throughout the championship run in 2020 for Tampa. But you knew with time on the clock, Drew Brees wouldn't go away. He finds Michael Thomas for another first down. He is the league's number 2 pass catch target in the league this season. First and goal to win the game. Alvin Kamara, the backup to Deuce McAllister, is injured today. Very close, but they say short of the goal line. They give the ball to Kamara yet again, but this time there was no chance. Levante David was all over it for Tampa. Saints settle for a Morton Anderson field goal. We're headed to overtime. First pass of OT, and Brady's picked off for the second time today by Dave Waymer. New Orleans would run the ball into field goal range for Anderson, and the Hall of Famer was right down the middle to win the game for the Saints, who are the new NFC South leaders, knocking out Tampa in overtime. First place, New Orleans battles the Colts next week. A battle of blue bloods from Foxborough, Massachusetts, as the all-time Dallas Cowboys battle the all-time New England Boston Patriots. A Hayes touchdown and an Emmitt Smith goal line plunge had given the Cowboys a 17-6 lead at the end of the third quarter. The Patriots defense, much maligned all season, steps up in a big way to begin the fourth quarter with an interception of Brandon Merriweather. And credit to Tom Brady, who used very little time to march him all the way downfield, and Stanley Morgan in for the touchdown, his league best 5th of the year. Dallas need a big play, and they get it with the all-decade return man Deion Sanders all the way to the 50th best return of the Cowboys season. But just 2 plays later, he's intercepted again. Staubach has been reckless on the interceptions this year, 2 today and 6 on the season. Welker for the gain of 15. And then Stanley Morgan for the pickup of 35. Tom Brady marches them all the way into the end zone. The Patriots lead it off a missed 2-pointer, 18-17. Then Dallas would go 3 and out and 4 and out to lose the game. The Cowboys collapse in the fourth quarter of this one and are now in huge trouble in the NFC East. Philadelphia's win over Washington gives them first in the division, and Dallas is bringing up the rear in the NFC East. Sunday Night Football from Soldier Field in Chicago. The all-time Bears are right back into the thick of things in the NFC North with a win over Minnesota. However, Fran Tarkenton would throw 2 touchdowns with a game on the line. The Bears off 4 field goals and a scoring plunge from Walter Payton lead it 19-14. Chicago would need to recover an onside kick. They would not, but the Vikings would touch the ball first, so Chicago would run out the clock. 19-14, the Bears win. Green Bay leads the division by just 1 game, and they'll take on the all-time Vikings in Minnesota next week. Another classic football game to close Week 6 Monday night between the all-time Dolphins and the all-time Jets. The highest scoring first half from both franchises this season was in an absolute scoring frenzy from Dan Marino and Joe Namath. The Hall of Fame quarterback would throw 3 touchdowns in the first 11 minutes in East Rutherford, and the Dolphins would lead it 21-0. But you can't count out one of the great clutch quarterbacks in the game, Joe Namath. New York would go the distance here in the middle of the second quarter. Dom Maynard reels it in for the Jet touchdown, and then Namath back on the board again with Wesley Walker, who had sustained an injury in this game, and he's out for the next 2 months, so Maynard will get a much bigger workload for New York at receiver. Miami just couldn't put much together in the second half. They'd be scoreless, and then the Jets go downfield with Keyshawn Johnson with the game on the line, setting them up into field goal range. This to run out the clock. Martin is denied, so they settle for the lead, 26-24, but would give Marino a chance. First down to Tyreek Hill. Another first down to Warfield, and then to set them up into field goal range, Duper with his best performance of the season from 46. Alindo Mare off of the completion to win the game from Miami. The kick was close, but it is good. And the all-time Dolphins improved to 4-1 with a road win, 27-26. Alindo Mare a perfect 7 for 7 on field goals this season. Marino with 323 yards on the day. The Dolphins are 4-1 this season. They'll take on Denver next week as the division leaders at 4-1 overall. The best team of the AFC is Pittsburgh, and Green Bay leads the NFC. injury report and roster update tomorrow morning with Charger 295.